Hey guys, this is Music Tech Help Guy, and this is just a tech demo for my music theory for music production or music theory for audio production series that I'm going to be starting soon. This one should go pretty quick because, as some of you guys know, I know music theory like the back of my hand. I mean, I went to college for music and studied traditional music. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in music, so, whereas some people were doing finance homework for a business degree, I was studying Beethoven and analyzing Beethoven symphonies for homework. So I have a lot of background in traditional music theory, and it's helped me out immensely in music production and music technology and audio engineering, because it basically gives me I've learned over 7 years of college, and just from playing in bands and playing multiple instruments and just being involved with music, I've sort of like developed I think a great understanding of music, regardless of what the genre is. So it's you don't necessarily have to go to college for music to do something in music production or audio production. If you learn what you need to learn, and then sort of apply, learn what you need to learn, and then apply that to what you're doing, you can get by with that. But it is important, in my opinion, to have some traditional music theory experience. So this is the format I'm going to be working with. I'm going to use Logic. I thought about using a combination of Logic and Sibelius, which is a music notation software that I used a lot in college. It's a great notation. It's actually, in my opinion, it's the best notation software out there. It's from Avid, the people who make Pro Tools, and just the idea of opening up Logic and Sibelius at the same time and trying to use those together, to me, is just going to be a pain in the ass. Sibelius doesn't have a piano roll editor, either. So I'm just going to use basically this arrangement with the score editor down here, MIDI up here, and then I can double click to open up the piano roll editor. Just hit P in the keyboard to do that. And that's the thing about this series, is I don't want to make it so much just about written notation. Like, you should be able to know the bass clef, know the treble clef. You should be able to understand basic, percussion clef notation as well. But I also want to take this and have you learn how to translate it to this, and vice versa. So you're not, like, one of the biggest problems I see with my students in the past and trying to write music and create music, is they click and move notes around until it sounds right. If you already know in your head what note it's supposed to be, like if you're trying to figure out a chord progression in the key of F minor or something like that, if you already know what the notes in the key of F minor are, you can very quickly jot down on a piece of paper or in piano roll the chords that you're looking for, the bass line of the chords, then construct the chords on top of that, and you're not sitting there plunking notes on your MIDI controller until it sounds good. So that's probably one of my number one things that I want you to get away from after you watch this series. A few things I'm doing differently, and the reason why I'm actually doing this tech demo, and sorry if I'm just rambling on, but the reason why I'm doing this tech demo is because I'm going to be recording my voice a little bit different, and different than I normally do. Normally what I do for Logic videos is I run a program called Movavi screen capture, and that just captures audio from the built-in mic on my iMac. And then on a second screen on the side here, I'm running Audacity, which is capturing basically my voice on one channel, and then these bottom two tracks are basically the playback from Logic, and the top channel is just an empty channel. But what I've normally done in the past is I would just record the signal dry into Audacity straight through a digital preamp on my Focusrite Liquid Sapphire interface, and I would stack a bunch of plugins later in Logic and make my voice sound good. The thing I'm doing differently here to sort of expedite these videos is I actually have a nice Focusrite ISA 220 channel strip that I've had for years, and it's got built-in EQ, it's got a built-in compression, built-in de-esser and a limiter. So I'm actually tracking the signal pretty much as you're hearing it. So I don't have to do all the mixing for the video clips later on. So basically what I used to do, again, like I said, is I'd capture the video with Movavi. I'd capture the audio in Audacity. Then I'd drag that whole video clip that I just recorded and the entire audio clip that I recorded, sync them up in Logic, do some mixing, and then I would export individual clips, audio or video clips out of Logic, drop them into Premiere Pro, do some more editing there, and then render the whole thing out. I'm trying to skip the whole Logic part of the process because there's only 2 plugins that I'm going to be using on my voice. One's Waves X Noise, just to get rid of any sort of background noise in the room, and one's like a slight limiter / gate. It's the RVox plugin from Waves, and I can actually apply those right directly from within Audacity. So now all I have to do for this series is just double click on my vocals, apply, and render those 2 effects in place. Then I can take my audio and video clips that I export out of Audacity, drop them into Premiere, and I'm skipping a whole step, which as I've said before, the biggest reason why I can't get videos out quicker, like I want to get videos out, I'd like to do 3 videos a day. I'd love to do that every single day, but it just takes 4 or 5 hours of editing to do like a simple 20-minute video. So that's one thing I'm sort of getting away from here, is doing the editing in Logic. I'm also going to be using headphones, so I'm not going to be getting a bunch of bleed in the microphone track. Before, what I would do is I would just I'd use like a sidechain compression on my microphone to essentially duck down any bleed. Like for a mixing series, I don't want to mix on headphones. I want to have my speakers on while I'm mixing, even while I'm doing the tutorial. For this, I don't need to do that. So I can save myself a lot of bleed issues just by using headphones. So anyway, enough about that. That's one thing I'm doing differently. So let me know if you like the way my voice sounds. It's pretty similar to the other videos, but again, I'm using almost all hardware to make it sound this way. Let me just do an audio test and make sure everything comes through okay. You'll probably recognize the melody. I woke up this morning with this in my head, and I just decided to make a little idea here for it. The cool thing is I can click on each one of these clips and it'll show you the music notation down here. But if I want to see the whole thing, I can drag over the whole thing and hit Command 5 to pull up the score editor. So that's really cool. Or I can just hit Command, I think it's what, 4? Command 4, yeah, to pull up piano roll. So I'll be doing a lot of like pulling up and pulling out piano roll and music notation. So let's just listen to this and make sure we're getting good audio from our playback as well. Cool. So it's audio looks like it's coming through okay. I'm going to check the frame rate after this because sometimes if I go with frame rates that are like a little lower, like 24, 30, they tend to look a little glitchy if there's a lot of motion on screen. But I think we'll be okay with 30 frames as opposed to 60. I really like doing 60, but the capture I'm doing right now is 1440p. Which is 25, it's like 2560 by 1440. I like 1440p because of just the resolution, but I know some of the problem with 1440p and watching it on YouTube is that some things can appear very small on the screen as opposed to, say, using 1080p. So if you guys would prefer things to be a little bit bigger on the screen, and you'd prefer 1080p, you can go back to some of my older videos that were in 1080p. For a reference. If you'd prefer to see 1080p, let me know. If you're okay with this for 1440p, that's I'll do this as well, or I can do this if you prefer this. The only problem I'm having is after my old Mac Pro, it's a 2008 Mac Pro Tower died. I sort of had to dig up my old iMac. It's like a 2011 iMac that's just been like a and a living room computer for years. I dug that thing out, and it's got a 1440p display, and so that's why I've been capturing at 1440p. The problem is this iMac freezes up on me all the time, and I think it's because it overheats. It like overheats after a while, and then just becomes completely unresponsive. So I may be switching back to 1080p. I have another like it's a Mac Mini, but it's like a souped up Mac Mini that I may go back to for YouTube stuff and just go 1080p instead. So let me know if you have any opinion on that as well. Another cool thing about this is I can like, I'll just have like diagrams off to the side. I can pull them in, like if we're talking about the circle of fifths or something, I can just sort of pull them in and pull them out. I mean, I could be more fancy. Oops, someone's texting me. Hang on. I could be, I'm not gonna cut that out of the video. I'm just gonna leave it in there. Anyway, I could just, I could have these diagrams fade in and out off the screen, make it look real nice and pretty, but I won't be able to point at them. Like I want to be able to say, oh, today we're gonna work with the key of B minor and see how it's a relative minor key to D major. I'd rather be able to use my mouse to point at them and zoom in and do things like that. So I'll probably just be taking a lot of diagrams on and off the screen instead of putting them up there. Although like terminology, like if I said, oh, today we're going to talk about the harmonic minor scale and how to construct a harmonic minor scale, I can just put the word up on the screen. That's pretty easy to do titles in Premiere. So this method is more or less just about streamlining the production so I can get more of these out quicker. So yeah, if there's anything you'd like to see from this series in particular, let me know in the comments below. What I plan on covering is basically just the basics, reading notes, the two basic clefs, treble clef, bass clef, constructing scales, understanding keys. Like I said, it's not going to be so focused on written traditional notation. It'll be a combination of traditional notation and piano roll, because this is more or less it's music production or music theory for music production or music theory for audio production. And that's another thing. Like if you have a name for the series that sounds really cool, let me know. I was thinking music theory for production, but then it's like, what kind of production? It could be video production for all I know. So I was thinking about music theory for audio production, but then it's like, that implies like recording arts and things like that. So I don't want to call it music theory for music production because it has the word music in it twice. Or I could just say theory for music production. I'm not really sure, but if anyone has a better idea for a name than that, let me know. But yeah, I'll probably go through like understanding notes, understanding octaves, middle C, what the difference between middle C and like the C above it is, sharps and flats, rhythm, basic rhythm. Then we'll get into constructing scales, constructing chords, understanding how keys work, and then the big one, and it's always, for some people, they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel right away, but it may take several videos to get through all of that just so we can get to the point where we're like, okay, today we're going to create a chord progression for a song in the key of, G minor. And this is how you do it. And you have to have all of that fundamental knowledge already to get to that point. Some people think, oh, one video can just show me how to make chord progressions. Well, you can go on the internet and just look up chord progressions for any popular song you've ever heard, and you can go plunk those notes into Logic, and that's fine, but you really haven't learned how to create the progressions from scratch. So that's a big key factor, and we'll probably spend a lot of time on that. And then we'll talk about some some different types of scales, obviously major and minor, but also some different alterations of scales like harmonic minor, melodic minor. Get into some basic like voice leading stuff, like understanding how to create harmony. Like if you got a lead vocal it's singing or playing, or a lead melody or whatever, how to create harmonies above and below that, when to create harmonies above and below that. And we'll probably end it there. Like, we really don't need to get into like deeper analysis, because at that point, then we're jumping into classical music, and that really doesn't do anything for us here. As long as you guys learn the basics and you can construct chord progressions and things like that, that's really as far as we need to go. Well, actually things like like seventh chords are probably important. You know, for this, I don't really think it would be too important to go any further beyond that, because if you want to create some additional, you know, harmony on a chord, like a ninth chord or an 11 chord, at that point, honestly, that's the point where I start just plunking notes until it sounds good. And I still know how to analyze the chord and say, oh, that's a C minor add 9 chord or whatever. I understand what I'm playing, but it becomes tonally more about just experimenting. So if we get to like seventh chords and knowing all your scales, knowing how to construct chord progressions, understanding a good understanding of rhythm, basic scoring and voice leading, I think if we get to that point, we'll be good. We'll be good enough. So I have no clue how many videos this will take. But like I said, the actual process of me making the videos will be much easier with this method of recording my voice and mixing and editing them, because I literally can just take this whole video right now, add 2 effects to it, drop it into Premiere, and hit render, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to do any title screens like I did with the EDM series. Believe it or not, that takes up a lot of extra time too, going into Photoshop and creating those title screens. I mean, I'll have thumbnails, but I'm not going to I probably won't have title screens. It's just one extra thing to do. Even like stupid things that you wouldn't think are important, like putting a fade at the beginning and the end of a video, take extra time. So again, if I'm trying to chunk 2 or 3 of these out in a day and then have them up on YouTube over a couple day period, I'd rather have consistent content that's still good quality, but just not have to take, 4 hours of my time editing it. So anyway, so sorry about if I'm just rambling on and on and on. I just wanted to do a quick tech demo, make sure everything sounds good, make sure everything looks good. And I'll see you guys at the first video. I don't know when it's going to be. It definitely won't be this week. Will probably be sometime next week. I've got a lot of projects coming up, and I also wanted to do an Isotope Ozone series as well, which I'm going to try to do simultaneous to this. And I've got a whole bunch of one-off videos that I really want to do as well. Just, single plugins and whatnot. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.